Welcome everyone to this week's edition of the CX Success. It's great to have you all back on board. Coming to you from Melbourne, live in isolation, hopefully not too much longer, and I hope everyone out there is still doing well. Over the last 3 months, we've finalised our Marketplace Digital Day series with over 6,000 retail legends learning how to crack the ultimate omni-channel strategy. We're very excited to be rolling out our next phase of e-commerce platform Digital Day series, starting with Magento Live on the 17th of this month before we jump into BigCommerce and Shopify in October. So keep an eye out for your invites in your emails. With the CX Success, it wouldn't be possible without our supporters. So a big thank you to Digital for being our series supporter, and today Unbxd being our session supporter, and of course our good friends and networking partners, Naked Wines. If anyone would like some more information on any of these, please reach out to me on ashley@retailglobal.com, and I'm more than happy to introduce you to the right people. Now let's jump into today's session. Today's topic is how retailers can use AI for their brands. Most of you would already know AI enables merchants to leverage cookie data and provide consumers with highly tailored offerings by utilizing natural language processing capabilities, image, video, and audio recognition. Retailers can hone in on what it is their customers really want. Clearly, there is no shortage of use cases for AI in e-commerce, but what does all that gibberish mean? Well, I'm going to jump in today with an all-star panel. So if my panel now would turn on your video and audio, I would love to have you on here. And I'm going to introduce you to what I would quickly becoming a catchphrase, all-star, rockstar panel. But I think the quality of panelists that keep getting put in front of me for these CX Success sessions never ceases to amaze me. So I'd love to introduce you to Sera and Ryan from Kookai, Natalie from Modern Essentials, and Surya from Unbxd. Now, before we jump into some questions, I'd love to go around the Zoom room and see if you could, team, if you could explain your role, company, and a little bit about your e-commerce journey. Looking to my left on my screen, I'll start with you, Natalie.
Hey everyone, so my name's Natalie and I work for Modern Essentials. So we're an essential oil company specialising in products for wellbeing. So a bit about me, I'm the finance and e-com manager with a background mainly in accounting and finance. And with that comes getting to look after our biggest asset, which is a website. But yeah, that's me.
Brilliant. Sera, throw across to you.
Sure. Hey everyone, my name's Sera. I'm from Kookai. We are a women's retail fashion label based in Melbourne with an e-com presence as well as about 40 odd stores across Australia and New Zealand. And more recently, we did acquire our global, our original label in Paris, in France. And that's expanded our, I guess, footprint to approximately 200 stores across Europe. I'm the e-com product manager at Kookai, looking after all things product online, from stock up until the front-facing product and all things from the customer's experience point of view. Yeah.
Brilliant. Does that exciting change roll out for yourself? Will you be launching e-commerce stores in Europe as well, or?
It's probably been about, it kind of feels recent to us, but when you kind of think back on it, it's been, I'd say, 2 or 3 years since the acquisition. However, lots of projects that have been implemented, I think aligning our e-com presence here and over there, which Ryan's heavily involved in, which I'm sure he might touch on as well. So yeah, it's I think it's still early stages for us, but a very exciting time for the brand.
Awesome. Very good to hear. Surya from Unbxd, our good friends.
Hello guys, my name's Surya. Heading sales for Unbxd in Australia and New Zealand. Been with Unbxd for over a couple of years now. Have some background in computer science and analytics. Jumped over to sales with over 5+ years of enterprise experience.
Awesome. And Ryan, we'll finish off with yourself, mate. We'll save the best to last, as the saying goes.
I'm Ryan. I'm the digital development lead for Kookai. So I act as in-house developer. So help manage, as Sera mentioned, we now have 7 e-commerce sites operating in 9 regions around the world. So it's my job to make sure they're working correctly and implement any new technologies, so Unbxd or any other technologies that we see fit that will improve our online presence and how it will work is sort of up to me to help make those things happen. So more on the technical side of things though than the, I suppose, what people usually see.
Definitely. No mean feat, I guess, with rolling out cross borders. Let's jump into our questions. I'll throw this first one out to Sera, to yourself. Acquiring a new customer is a mammoth task and of course a costly affair. Keeping that in mind, it's essential that customers spend more or buy more. So buy multiple products in one order and come back for repeats. Primarily speaking, an increase in average order value and frequency of orders needs to be a critical metric that needs to be tracked and continuously improved. How are you working to inspire loyalty from shoppers and to ensure that frequent purchases and a bigger cart size?
Yeah, big question, but definitely, an interesting one and something obviously so relevant to this time. I think from our sort of point of view at Kookai, we have such a huge presence on social media and a very strong and loyal following there, where, that's sort of, I guess, the number one, perhaps, form of engagement that we receive that, our customers love to see, continuous content, being posted and using those platforms to inspire and really, I guess, showcase, what we have and our product range. But yes, social media is definitely our biggest form of loyalty in that sense, where we're constantly keeping them engaged and driving that traffic through social media. Instagram being our biggest platform where we see the most engagement occur. So from our point of view, I strongly believe social media has definitely played a huge role in that, and I guess in a time where we're in lockdowns and whatnot and restrictions in place and not having access to our for us here in Victoria anyway, with our retail stores closed, it's sort of now more than ever finding these tools and really continuing to pivot and spin and keep in touch with our customers for those who actually don't have access to be able to enter a store and shop.
Yeah, brilliant. I guess it was a big shift being having such a physical presence as well with the consumer going online. It was probably a good change for you there and being able to still maintain that social media side of things. Natalie, you guys have seen a big growth during this time. How are you working to inspire loyalty from these shoppers and ensure the frequent purchases and bigger cart size?
Yeah, so loyalty is a big one for us. We find like our customers are incredibly loyal in the niche market that we're in, so in essential oils. So once they find a brand that they love and trust, they want to stay customers of that brand. So that's one thing that we've tried really hard to work on, is as soon as we get that customer is doing our best at every touch point to absolutely delight them. So social media is a big one for us as well. We have a private Facebook group where a lot of our interaction happens. So really just trying to get our customers to be part of our family and feel like every touch point when we have with them is really personal, which gets a lot harder as you do scale, because customers want to feel like every interaction you have with them is personal and is directly targeted to them. So it's constantly adapting and working on our brand and making sure that we are, even as we do get bigger, that we are still really like personal with our customers.
Brilliant. It's an interesting one, that the Facebook group I recently acquired, and I feel like I've aged into a 50-year-old man by saying this, but I got an Oz Pig cooker, and the Oz Pig's a big smoker style meat barbecue group. But when you purchase it, you get added to a private group, and that private group shares recipes and everything like that. And it's incredible how much extra accessories and everything I bought from it because of that personalized experience, and it's nice to see there. On the topic of personalization, I'm going to throw this to you, Surya, and maybe Ryan, I think you might be able to answer this as well. Personalization is essential, and for that to be a possibility, more and more customer data needs to be analyzed. Merchandising is critical to achieving this, but traditionally has been a labor-intensive process with a lot of effort put into burying, pinning, boosting, and deleting products. Combining this with manual inventory management. However, AI, the topic that we're on right now, has been taking the center stage of late. How does AI help in building relevant personalization with effective merchandising to make the process more time and labor efficient, basically automated, and more importantly, more user-centric in your business? It's a big question, but Surya, I think with your expertise, you're going to be able to nail this one. Oops, sorry, you're on mute, mate. We'll just get you to unmute.
Yep.
There we go.
Got there. Yes. definitely a large question. Yeah. But yeah, personalization is basically, it's definitely crucial at this point in time. And I think there was a question that came up on the Q&A regarding this as well, where it definitely is that point of time where you need that individual shopper's attention. You're trying to understand what he's interested in. And this is kind of a convoluted task because, he's just on your site. He's probably a new shopper. And if you don't have sufficient data and insights, or the tools that can actually capitalize on this data, you're actually stuck and you're not able to personalize. And primarily, it's this data that you're acquiring from not just the overall session of your e-commerce store, but that individual shopper's interaction, their affinity models, that what we call, that is extremely crucial in order to personalize. And we feel, of course, personalization is very verticalized. It can be super important for specific verticals, but might not be super crucial for some others. And we've seen different kinds of priority importance that retailers across verticals show towards personalization as well. Usually the majority of the retailers that we've seen, especially in the Australian market, are not personalizing their experience unless they meet with products like Unbxd or many other vendors that are in the market, where unless they meet us, they usually write scripts manually. They connect with their dev team or their e-commerce manager, their merchandising manager in some cases, basically writing scripts to manually rank products. There's absolutely no personalization that we've seen. And this is a cause of concern because what we're seeing is they make use of the native platform's ranking, and it's sufficient for smaller sites which are just getting started. I've just set up my e-commerce store and basic ranking is more than enough. But when we're talking about enterprise players, established players in the market, they can be small, medium, or large. Personalization becomes key because you want to tap into that segment. You want to know what that individual shopper is interested in. Use that one-to-one personalization. Multiple signals are available. You got what products they're clicking on, what products they're adding to cart, what products they're not buying after adding to cart. What are the trending products on your site? Multiple data signals are already available on your store. And we just need to use this data in order to start communicating with that shopper. For example, if as a shopper, if I'm a shopper and I go into a fashion site and I maybe click on, let's just say, a specific brand, Levi Strauss skinny jeans that are probably, less than $150. And now AI becomes plays a major role where it understands what price range, what's my budget, what's the kind of product that I'm looking for, what brand I have affinity towards, and maybe starts throwing some relevant products in when I'm searching for some, maybe just jeans or maybe some product recommendations and so on. Right. And at the end of the day, primarily, while all of this, while retailers focus on personalization towards a better experience, a better customer experience, what also is the hidden benefits is, of course, your direct impacts on revenue, increasing your conversions, your AOV, reducing your bounce rates, and so on.
Brilliant. And Ryan, if we apply this to the Kookai example, how have you used this sort of personalization to increase the experience?
So for Kookai in general, I think the user experience, well, not user experience, customer experience in the physical stores has always been a major focal point for us. So moving into the online world, we have tried to keep that level of I suppose connection alive. Until now, that's been a very manual process. So we actually have an e-boutique team that has been managing that side of things to try and make sure that the sites have some level of personalization, and it has been a very manual process. We are currently now starting to switch over to the AI side of things, and we have already seen an uptake in conversions, which has been really good. I think it's still a slow process for us, especially as a learning curve, to sort of trust the AI more and let it do what it's supposed to do instead of sort of taking control of it. But we are definitely seeing a lot of, I suppose, the early stage positives from using AI, and we definitely are looking forward to giving it more control in the future and learning more and more how we can leverage it to improve our service.
Brilliant. I'm going to jump in this question from the audience at this point because I think it's quite relevant to this piece. COVID has caused a lot of uncertainty across the board. How do we use personalization for customer acquisition and stay relevant? Surya, is this something you can talk to, or Natalie, Sarah? Anyone want to jump in on that point?
Yeah, I'd probably let Natalie or Sera, because they're more engaged on the business side of e-commerce.
Yeah, definitely, Natalie.
I'm just trying to think if COVID's changed anything or if it's still more of the same. Like, I think personalization, I guess more customers are doing a lot more research and they have a lot of more awareness of more brands. So that's potentially how it has changed things. And I guess customers have more time to research. Customers still are willing to spend money, but they're also looking for really great value in where they do spend their money. So I guess in terms of those aspects, that's changed things for us a little bit. And we've definitely, I'm just trying to think of the past few months, we've definitely honed in on a lot of our products that add a lot of value to people's lives and a really good value for money. So yeah, I guess in that way, it's probably changed for us a little bit. Yeah, just staying relevant in the products that we're recommending as well. Yeah,
definitely. I think COVID's the one trend that we hear all the time, and personally, I'm so sick of hearing about COVID and e-commerce because it always pops up. But the thing is, it's our situation, and being in isolation has really forced my hand to say I hate it. But the one thing we've seen from consumers and businesses alike is it has given people, like you mentioned, more time to analyze things, but also it's a lot of people are adapting into new things quicker because they think, well, I've got time to lose, right? I've, like, my hair is the perfect example. I've always thought about dyeing it, and I've been locked up for 6 months now. So I thought, why the hell not just try something different? By the time I'm back in the outside world, I'll probably look normal again. So I think it's the same for consumers, where we're having the opportunity to really just trial and error, because I don't think anyone ever expected this in our lifetime, but we are in a whole new world. So it's something there. But all right, let's moving on. I'm going to throw this one to Sarah. How do you guys use 360-degree data tracking the whole customer journey from your website visits, in-store visits, and checkouts to trace precise behavior patterns in the lead up to a sale and build a better picture of the customer journey?
This one's an interesting one. I think, as we've, with this time with COVID, it's really, I think, put a focus on our strategies and fast tracking. I think some of those sort of things that you need to get to, and just being a lot more, I guess, critical and paying so much more attention to these elements and what we can sort of do to, re-strategize or change the way we've done things, and we've been forced to, bring things forward or rechange platforms that we use and fast track a couple of these projects to really get an insight on all these minor details and, really get it as much more out of particularly our online customers, I think, especially, not to say that we neglect them over our in-store customers, no, but I think it's really trying to fine tune, getting to the core of our online customers and who they are, what they're doing, what they're spending, how frequently they're spending, and all that jazz. And really, I guess bringing the two together and doing as much as we can just to really get to know them so much more now than ever. Not saying that we don't know them, we do, but I think it's just really shifted our focus and really just brought it to light in a time like this where, e-com's through the roof and it's really busy and it's pumping. And I think it's, really pushing us in a way to really continue to dig deep and look at all these elements consistently and more deeply.
Brilliant. Surya, I know in your role you see this across a number of different retailers. What are some good examples you've seen in this, in people using this 360-degree data?
True. So data is definitely available everywhere. Like shop retailers are in fact going for specific analytics tools that are capturing intricate data in terms of what's happening, not just at a website level, how I'm performing at a site level, but now retailers really want to know what's happening at a product level. Why is a product that's getting clicked so much and added to cart so much not getting bought? So data and insights, of course, are playing a crucial role, and 360-degree data is essential to make sure that your website is not just performing well, in terms of orders. I'm getting a good amount of traffic in, and I'm getting a good amount of orders that I'm expecting for. But ideally, it also helps you find out the entire flow, all the way starting from my traffic coming in onto my site. Every step, every action that the shopper takes can be identified. And any glitches, any area where there are faults found on the e-commerce experience is easily identified, can be rectified, creating an immediate impact.
I guess the logical next step from there, we've got this next question, which we've been put forward, and I think this is a really good one too. I'll throw it to Natalie and Sarah, actually, or possibly Ryan as well, being the e-commerce side of things. Engagement, measurement, and building closed loop feedback with this data is essential to permeate a seamless customer experience. How are you working to achieve that? Customer experience obviously being the key word, especially around loyalty. Yeah, I'll throw to our three retailers. Does any of you want to jump in on that one?
Yeah, I'd be happy to kickstart. In terms of looking at different, I suppose, methods of recording data and reaching customers, we are now, as Sarah said, fast tracking new technologies. So we have recently upgraded our EDM system to a more robust content management, customer management system that does record things like sales, sale amount, how regularly they are making those sales. We have also started to update our back-end database systems to have a much more detailed view of every sale that gets made, each site that it comes from, and also it will start to record in-store as well. So we'll be able to have a much more, I think a much clearer image of our customer when they shop in-store and when they shop online. But I think the other part of that too is in terms of the experience side of things. One thing I've noticed Kookai is very good at is giving a human face, even if they're shopping online. A lot of the time we get phone calls and we have a bunch of girls sitting in the office that answer every call and help out the customer any way they can. And I think that always builds that loyalty as well, so that we know who the customers we're talking to, and live chat helps with that as well. But just having that interaction, even when it's a digital customer.
Yeah, brilliant. And Natalie, are you guys doing anything different over at EcoModern?
Yeah, I guess for us, we're really customer driven in a lot of, I guess, our processes when we are looking at bringing out new products and we're looking at developing. So we'll always start with data. So, we always start with, best-selling products or, top collections. But the last step that we do before we, launch anything like that is, run polls in our Facebook family or, chat with people that call us up or email us. So I guess that's sort of where we try and balance the two, is the customer experience with the data that we are gathering, and, making sure that we're not just grabbing data and running ahead. It's, balancing it with what your customer is expecting and what they're wanting and what they're demanding, I guess, because the reason that we're here is to deliver what they're after.
Yeah, definitely. How are you tracking that, I guess, the customer satisfaction, or in that sense, is it return purchases, or how are you actually knowing that you're listening to the customer in the right way?
There's a few different metrics for us. Return customer rate is a big one, although it can be a misleading factor because we do go through big periods of customer acquisition. So you always have to factor that in. Conversion rates as well, just knowing that, what you're putting on site is resonating with your customers, and when they're there, they are purchasing. And then a lot of it is, feedback surveys, post purchase surveys, that sort of stuff, talking directly with customers. Running polls in our Facebook group. We sort of try and use a whole bunch of different metrics so that we're not, I guess, getting caught up on one metric that might not give us the whole picture.
Yeah, definitely. And Sarah, are you using similar metrics in your role?
Yeah, yes, definitely. And Natalie's pointed out some of the key ones that we use as well: conversion, return, repeat customers as well. I think they're two crucial ones that we definitely use as well. So I think Natalie's nailed that one. Can totally relate to that as well.
Definitely, perfect. It's good to know in these sessions, if we start to hear the same thing more than once, we know that things are working. So it's good to hear and sort of resonate with everyone. The next question is a little bit, I think, around the future of e-commerce and the tools that we can use. So AI and machine learning driven technologies look to be the future of e-commerce. With this understanding, why is it still necessary for a human element to be present in decision making for merchandising, product discovery, and customer experience for the retailers? And then I'm going to follow up. So there's that first question. I'm going to follow up next with, how do you maintain a healthy balance between the AI and human touch, which Ryan touched on a few things earlier. And Natalie, do you want to jump in first from the eco-modern side of things on how you still think the human side is there?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it all boils down to the fact that we are humans dealing with humans. You know, our customers are human, and so are we. So, as much as we want to use technology to run everything and make our lives easy, you have to, remember who your customers are and remember that, we're just people here as well. So I guess, it all sort of boils down to that, and we will use as much technology and software and everything possible to scale and grow faster and deliver, better, more effective, efficient products for our customers. But we're still here. We're still the core behind the decision making and making sure that what we do will resonate with our customers, because I think, that's always going to require a human element.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes we hear from just different retailers on that note that if the technology's there, they take advantage of it, but they find that they've just got too much technology and they're paying all these small incremental fees, which are adding up into a giant. Have you guys experienced something where you've got certain tools, but it's actually taking too much human time rather than making life easier?
Yeah, we've definitely gone through that probably in the past 12 months. There's been a big transition from just bringing on a lot of different technologies and softwares to try and, put band-aids on things essentially. And then you get to the point where you have, a list of 100 apps that are plugged into your store and you're not sure, what one's doing what or what one's taking you where. So we've done a really big review and big sort of tech stack overhaul in the past 6 to 8 months, which has really helped us hone in on what's important.
Brilliant. Surya, did you want to jump in on that topic? I think.
Sure. Definitely. So yeah, I mean, like as I said earlier, while personalization definitely does, play a key role, having things automated makes life easier for the retailer. They usually have a small or a large team, depending on the size of the organization, consistently, re-ranking stuff, customizing, merchandising, redirecting, creating synonyms, for example, and making sure their website is functioning the way they expect it to be. But primarily, while personalization solves all of these problems, with respect to having the experience as smooth as possible, the human element is extremely crucial as well, because you run the business, the business, when exactly your specific, and of course, like as e-commerce managers, everyone has targets, goals to meet, and inputting these ideas, in the form of very simple rules, so that the AI can actually make use of these rules, make use of the guidance that the human actually provides, actually, in fact, has better results. We've seen products like Unbxd, always believes that it's not simply automation that gives you the results, but some amount of human touch that goes along with the automation, where you're telling what the AI is supposed to do, what kind of products should I prioritize? Very basic smart rules where overall the result is evident. And together as a product, as an AI product, and as a retailer, we have the same goals to make businesses successful, make as much money as possible. And yeah, this is something we've seen as well. We work with Kookai, we work with several large brands in the region, Total Tools, Appliances Online, Spotlight, just to name a few. And we've been very successful, where a little bit of personalization with the product does automatically, and a small amount of human touch has delivered exorbitant results.
Ryan, I see you've unmuted. Did you want to jump in on that topic as well around the human touch?
Yeah, I think just part of that, especially from the Kookai perspective, is I think there's a lot of that element of technology versus human, where I think a lot of what we're trying to create now is more technology should be enhancing the human experience. So whether that means if the customer does want to go into the store, they can order a product online and click and collect. That's a good example of just having that level of customer experience that's enhanced by technology. And I think there's a lot of ways there that they can work very well hand in hand, and that we have gone down that same problem of just having sort of band-aid fixes and apps going everywhere, and just trying to consolidate that into a really easy to use platform for us as the I suppose the people who have to work with it, and then obviously translate that across to the customer as well. So there's a lot of opportunities there with new technology, and yeah, I think it's something that should really be enhancing the customer experience, not necessarily taking away from it or being against sort of, IT versus human kind of thing.
Definitely. I guess at some point as well, with a lot of people we hear as well, are scared to adapt to new things. The whole, I can't think of the film, but robots, I think it's iRobot, the robots taking over the world. I think there is a balance there, that there is a much easier way of life by just hooking into things. In our business, what we do, we've just launched with a new website company, and it is streamlined 80% of our event functionality. And it's so simple, but I think that initial step with the scary part at the start is all it took to get onto it. So I've got one last question here before we've got quite a few questions from the audience, which is great to see. So if everyone listening in, there's a Q&A button down the bottom. Please get your questions in there so we can throw them out to the panel. We've got quite a few to get through already, which is a great start. But in the kind of last question of the general chat here, I want to throw out a curly one. It does involve the dreaded COVID word. In times of COVID, physical retail has definitely taken a hit. Do you think that offline retail would still be relevant in the coming 3 years? If yes, how do you then effectively tailor your approach for product discovery, on-site shopping experience, and customer support to really hit that omni-channel customer experience? While I let the retailers have a big think about that one, Stu, I want to throw to you from your role overlooking, I guess, several retail companies there, and see what your thoughts are.
Definitely. So COVID has definitely played a detrimental role, and has in fact changed things completely as well. We have seen, and when I have spoken with several retailers, we have definitely seen off late a good increase in traffic for e-commerce generally. Of course, with stores being shut down, there's a larger amount of people coming onto the digital side of the world. We have different kinds of people, and in fact, which is proved to be positive for the online side of business. Of course, for people who have a good omni-channel experience where there's enough online and offline, businesses have started taking a hit, and a massive hit, in fact. But in terms of pure e-commerce, the COVID situation has, unfortunately or fortunately, been a good source for e-commerce to grow. We have seen a good growth in terms of all metrics. All metrics have been positive for all vendors I've spoken to, in terms of AOV, conversions, a huge surge in traffic, and which in fact has brought them into evaluating, reviewing products like ours, which primarily focus on the online side of things and help with engaging with your on-site traffic, making sure they buy the products, they see the products that they have, and end up converting from a shopper into a buyer.
Sarah and Ryan, Kookai having the omni-channel offline and offline, how do you guys foresee the next couple of years for Kookai in this space?
I think Kookai, I'm sure Sarah will agree with me here, but Kookai has always had a very strong focus on the customer experience in store. Our stores are boutiques because that's what we like to deliver to our customers, that boutique experience. I think that as more customers shop online for the everyday items, it will increase that level of going shopping to a physical store might become more of an experience. So that boutique level of experience will become even strengthened. I think it will mean there'll be a higher level of customer support, styling gurus in store. That level of when a customer walks into a store, it's actually about trying to deliver them a much more tailored experience in the physical store, because we know that all the other, if they're just buying another top that they already own 4 of, then they're just going to go online and buy that. So we don't need that level of the boutique experience. I don't know, Sarah, if you'd like to add to that.
Yeah, no, totally. And to Ryan's point there with going into store, I still believe traditional shoppers will still be around. I think, you know, there'll still be people. I, for one, am one of those. You know, the irony working in e-com, but I prefer to shop in store, to be honest. You know, some people like that more personal interaction, not only with, I guess, you know, the product, but also the social side of things. We find our customers, you know, quite a few of our customers, you know, are you know, out to social gatherings or whatever it might be. Although, you know, COVID is changing the way we socialize, yes. However, you know, I think having that personalized in-store experience, and I think that will really also revamp and, you know, change the way perhaps what we do currently, and then that will sort of, you know, shift more attention there. And I think also in conjunction with that, you know, fast tracking, yes, or, you know, putting a bigger priority on these omni-channel projects and streamlining all of those things so that we get a more cohesive, you know, experience for that customer who is whether they're back online to buy the 5th top that they already own 4 other colors of. And, you know, what's that to tell that same story is when they go back into store and they want a whole new work outfit, or, you know, they're off to a birthday and they need something. So, you know, having that flexibility and you know, to flip between the two. I definitely don't think, you know, retail's down and out in a physical sense. I think it's definitely just going to really shift and change, you know, really shake up the industry essentially and shake up the businesses. And I think, yeah, we'll all be starting to think of new things and coming up with things and doing things that we've never done before, essentially.
Brilliant. It's an interesting point of view, isn't it? I think on Ryan's touch point about the experience in store, I think that's the model where the Culture Kings is the really good example. They've got the DJ, they've got the barber. I mean, the one in Melbourne has a basketball ring. They constantly have famous international musicians come out and perform there. It's a really cool experience-based thing. But I think from what I gather, most of their stuff is done online. So it's a really interesting on the future there. Natalie, I'd love to get your perspective on this as a consumer. I know that Eco-Modern are a pure play retailer, you're online only. As a consumer, what do you see, and I guess retail aficionado now, how do you see the future of offline retail?
Yeah, definitely as a consumer perspective for me. I guess at the moment it's sort of hard to tell how people are going to come out of this phase. But I think for me personally, like thinking of how I treat my experiences now, like if I go out for dinner, you know, it's something that you like really get excited about, and it's like a real treat to, you know, be in the outdoors and you know, have that interaction and have that service. So I think that myself personally, I will treat, you know, shopping experiences the same. So if you are going to go into a store, it's not a big event, but you know, it's something that you haven't really had in a while, or it's something that you'll treat, I guess, more special. So customers will be potentially expecting a little bit more in what they do. So really personalized, really, you know, comfortable environments to be in. That's sort of how I see it playing out for me anyway.
It's a good point, isn't it? It's almost like, I know when I was getting suit shopping for my wedding, we got given beers and whiskey and everything for the suit fitting. And then my wife told me when they went for the wedding dress, they got champagne and everything. It's almost like if we could have that experience for everything, where I've got my new book delivered in the mail today from Booktopia. Thank you for Wayne. And I know that experience, it was just, I went online and got the book because I knew I wanted it. But could it be something about going into a bookstore and sitting there going for that, You've Got Mail experience that they talk about, where sitting there listening to stories, having a coffee and everything like that. the future of retail could be really cool. And I guess that is what's going to throw into a couple of our audience questions there. And it goes, do you think that omnichannel is the future of retail? I guess flowing on from that question is very similar. Do we want to run around with a quick yes or no from the audience? Surya, do you think omnichannel will be the future of retail?
I think, yeah, as Sera was telling as well, it's completely unpredictable how people are going to come out of this situation. People have been used to the online experience. They've seen the comfort, and they're forced to, buy stuff online, and now they're kind of comfortable as well. But they at the same time want to go out to a store. They want to have that experience of physically seeing the product, experiencing it, and buying. So omnichannel I feel will be the future, definitely. At least for the next few years, where both channels will play a big role. And yeah, but it's kind of unpredictable at this point of time.
Brilliant. I've got an interesting question from the audience here. I'd love to know, I think it's more of a question for Natalie and Sera here in the e-commerce manager role. William says, I work in insurance and we've seen a huge number of retail stores close down, never to be open again. We've seen a huge shift to online purchasing. How many retailers have thought of and considered the impacts of damage to product and to the effect of their bottom line? I'm going to read into this and think that means in regards to damaged product in transit. Have you guys put much thought into that, and what practices do you use to stop that? So it's a little bit off topic, but a pretty interesting one.
I guess from us, we've always been online. So safe and secure packaging has always been a big thing for us anyway. But there's so many great options out there. So many really sustainable, recyclable options as well. Just understanding your products and how they travel. Whenever we get a new product, we send it to each of our homes, just to see how it's going to travel, how it's going to turn up. But yeah, that's something that we've always had, a really close eye on.
Brilliant.
Yeah, definitely packaging for us from an online point of view. Yeah, it's something that we've got an array of so sort of depending on the products that we have is definitely, that's always of high priority from us from an e-com point of view. But yes, similarly, to be honest, I think in this time we haven't had too many issues, thankfully, knock on wood, with damaged with sort of products in transit to our customers. So we've had a pretty good run, thankfully so far. The occasional one where someone's package is left and a dog's come around and rip the package half open. But other than that, it's similarly to Natalie. It's it's been quite good for us.
Perfect. I think one of the best stories I've heard in e-commerce, I think throughout my journey, was where there's road bike company in Brighton in the UK, and they're finding out that a lot of their bikes were getting damaged in transit because people just weren't paying any respect when delivering them. So what they did is they printed giant TV pictures on their boxes, and then they reduced it by something like 95% because people thought they were transporting TVs. So when they were doing that, they actually were taking extra care and the bikes weren't getting damaged. So hope that answers your question, William. We've got quite a few questions in the same little area here. And I think Ake and a few of our anonymous attendees have put it out there. How do brands source new AI technology and solutions? What programs are you using? And so start with how do you source technology? Surya, this is obviously being an AI company. How do you recommend people look for the right technology? True.
Good question out there. We're definitely, every retailer is super interested in making things simple. Making their life simple is all they use technologies for. So primarily when we work with retailers, the first question we ask is, what problems are you guys facing at this moment? Because we're trying to solve your problems. So ideally, smaller retailers, we have a discussion. We understand what challenges they have on a daily basis, where time is lost, what they're looking to enhance, optimize. Larger retailers, usually we go through a formal RFI where they list out all their requirements over an Excel sheet or any sheet of that sort. And then we basically understand if Unbxd or the product that you're looking for AI is the right fit. That would be like a good place to start, where requirements gathering and requirements handling is the perfect place to start. and your challenges can be solved by the product that you're looking out for.
Brilliant. I guess, and also on top of that one, Ake, the best place to source the right AI technology for your business is definitely Retail Global Gold Coast in March. So make sure you get your ticket and come join us up there. Kind of flowing on for the next step there. How affordable is it adopting AI into our business in that sense? Is AI a big daunting number, or is it something that can be rolled out at a low cost?
I guess from us, we've just sort of been through the transition into AI, so I can jump into this one. It's definitely not a cheap process. I think if it was, then you might not be looking at the right solution. But for us, it was weighing up the cost of doing it versus the cost of not doing it. So, you know, if we're not utilizing the technology to delight our customers and have personalized touches with them, then we're not delivering. So for us, yeah, we were at that stage where it was weighing up the cost of it versus the cost of not having it. And for us, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah, awesome. And Surya,
Yep.
We got one of our attendees saying they're very early in the stage of considering AI for our business. What would you suggest is the first step we need to undertake to understand before we implement an AI strategy? Is it just simply going to providers in the right, in the right field and asking how they can help? Is it doing an audit on your own business processes? What's the best step? And then I'll ask you that one. I'll throw to you, Sarah and Ryan, to see what you guys did to know that you needed to look into this.
Definitely. So primarily, you know, we've seen referenceability as a huge factor. You know, a large retailer is using an AI product. Of course, they've done some thorough evaluation. They've gone through the entire process that you're going to go through. You know, they've had a look at the product's features, functionalities, what the product is able to deliver, what return on investment you're getting, apart from all the technological factors. So usually we've seen a good referenceability where one customer talks to the other about what they've experienced with the product like us, and then it goes through word of mouth. Sometimes we've seen retailers going out through events like Retail Global. You know, we meet at events, we have you know, a good conversation where we have initial conversations about what the product does, going forward to explain the product through a product demonstration live on their site, preferably, where we do a demonstration of this is what you're gonna get on your live site. And then there are some conversations about what ROI you can expect and so on. Some cases everything happens online as well. You know, we have product demonstrations happening online or on site in some cases. But primarily the process is understanding if the product is going to yield you enough results as you expect. Because the idea of AI is personalization, of course, and a good customer experience, but the ROI plays a key role as well, because as Natalie said, AI is definitely not a cheap tool, but not the most expensive, because if you're looking at cheap AI tools, they're probably not doing what they claim to do. So the good tools are kind of on the mid to expensive side. And you will get the results. You'll get anywhere from, the north of 20x in return on investment.
It's a good point, that one there, because very much you get what you pay for, where I know in previous rollouts with things that I've done, we might be spending, say, an extra 10%, but in reality, we're saving an extra 40%. So it's rolling out the different costs there. Sarah and Ryan, how did you guys analyze what you needed to do for your before implementing your AI strategy?
So we initially brought in a non-AI search engine. And what we quickly worked out was we had staff just spending hours and hours doing the pinning, doing the merchandising, making sure that the products were being displayed on the site the way and the order that we wanted them to, whether that was down to colors, whether it was collection based. So I think for us, it was looking at, there was a lot of time being spent doing these tasks that could be handled by an AI. So I think that level of, that was, I suppose, the early stage. Another good place to go if you're unsure is if you have developers. We do have an external agency that helps us out with bigger projects. They would usually have an idea of someone that used before, or they might be able to introduce you. We saw probably about 4 or 5 different providers until we sort of, as we heard each one's spiel, we worked out more and more what we needed and what would be required for our specific project. And yeah, that was sort of how we went down the path. So yeah, I guess the best thing we found was just to start doing some research online, find similar retailers to you and see if you can find out what they're using, reach out to them. Be surprised how many times you can just email a retailer and say, hey, by the way, what do you guys use for your search? Or do you have an AI provider? Or, you know, how does this work? And a lot of the time I'll be happy to help. So yeah, I think that was sort of how we went down the path. Sarah, if you have anything to add to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, from our perspective, we're still quite new to the AI game, very much still learning and getting, you know, getting in the midst of it. So, you know, lots of, I guess, you know, training AI, the AI and, you know, I guess back to the human element question earlier, is also, you know, getting the AI to learn as well, you know, our customers and our products and vice versa, and having those two working into it. So for us, you know, lately it's been a huge learning curve, and something that I think many of us, you know, still always have questions on. But yeah, like Ryan said, you know, doing your research and all that, and just having a look around, and it was quite daunting, you know, at the start for some of us. But I think, yeah, it's just one of those things that, you know, it's sort of where e-com is just heading to, yeah, and, you know, still definitely learning, and it's still early stages for us.
And I think on that front too as well, one of the earliest things we saw with AI, which really surprised me, and it's such a simple concept, was on our product pages, we always had sort of a shop to look, or you might also be interested in, and that was always a curated collection of products that would go with that product, and usually it was an outfit. So, you know, there's the dress there and have the shoes, the bag, and of course the AI doesn't say, well, here's the outfit. The AI goes, here's 10 other dresses identical, well, similar to that one that you might also like. And I think a bunch of other retailers were doing similar things, where you sort of, you think from the customer perspective, you're not trying to sell them, well, you'd like to sell them an outfit, but the customer's on your site to buy a dress. That's what they're looking at. So you should be trying to show them as many of your dresses as possible to get them to buy one that they like. So I guess that's a pretty interesting way you can see the AI working, and just how it, you know, listens to what the customer's trying to find and tries to put as much as possible in front of them to get them to make that purchase.
I think it comes down to that customer experience, right? I really like that point, that last one there. All right, we've got last question here. There's two questions, and I think the first one can be enrolled in very quickly before we run out of time. The first question is, realistically, what time frame should we be expecting to roll out a decent strategy? And the second one is, how much customer data do we need to be able to launch a strategy? Is it a matter of implementing the strategy and building the customer data over time before they see an increase in cart sizes, or is it something they must have in advance? So yeah, I feel like this is made for you, this question, mate. Do you want to answer this one?
Sure, definitely. So yeah, we do work with retailers. As I said, we start off with the initial requirement gathering, and over there, in terms of a time frame that we're talking about, it depends on how quick you're comfortable with the situation, you know, how you find this is the product. But once you've figured out this is the product I'm going forward with brands like Kookai, for example, when we started off, yes, we did work with Ryan extensively over an integration process. You know, it's fairly a few weeks that we're talking about. We're talking about 1 week where we work on your feed. You know, we make sure that your catalog is in the right place, right format. The second week is mostly analytics. We work over a couple of weeks on fixing analytics. We either connect with your existing tools like GA or Omniture. You know, we connect with the GTM, or we can use Unbxd analytics. Starting from there, we're talking about the actual integration of the AI tool itself, which is probably anywhere between 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the kind of experience you want to provide. You know, is it only search-based AI? Is it your entire website where you're powering both your search pages and your collection or category pages, or you're using product recommendations across your site as well? So depending on the products, the integration, but ideally we're talking about anywhere between 4 to 6 weeks of time, because as I said, when we're integrating analytics in the second week, we need that 2 to 3 weeks of analytical data and where AI kicks in, learns what it wants, and provides the most relevant experience. So that initial analytical integration will prove good when you're completing the 6 weeks of total product integration.
Awesome. Well, on that note, sorry, are we still going? Did I cut you off there?
Yeah, I think the second question was more in line, but it had an additional question where how fast can you see an impact once you have an AI product enabled? You know, how soon can I see an increase in sales? So ideally, we've seen the impacts are as soon as possible as you go live on the site, because we have 6 weeks of integration happening and a good 4 weeks at least of analytical data. With this data, you will start seeing results very soon, but ideally we do more of a discussion, more of a review at the end of 2 months, where most of the good products that are confident that they'll deliver to retailers, do something like a trial, a POC, however expensive they're comfortable in giving a proof of concept, very similar to what we did with most of the large retailers in the region. At the end of the 2 months of proof of concept, you know what results you're getting. You know, I'm getting a 15% uplift in conversions, and you know, my ROI is good, and it makes sense for me to proceed with maybe a longer contract. If it doesn't make sense, of course, you know, you should be able to cancel the contract at the 2-month period. Yeah.
Perfect. I really love that. That's honest insight there at the end, that it is about you getting the results. So don't be afraid to stand up in, I guess, on that note. That is all the time we've got for today. I want to really thank you very much to our panelists. Natalie, we've really worked you hard the last couple of weeks with our insights and now this panel. So thank you so much for it. Sera, Ryan, it was great to connect with you guys for the first time. And hopefully we can build a nice relationship with Kookai. And Surya, it's always a pleasure having Unbxd as part of the Retail Global family. So thank you to all of you. It was a brilliant panel.
Thank you very much, Ashley. Yeah.
I'm just going to finish this session now. I want to touch on one point, and Ryan made this point, and I think for me it's the most important point of anything said in this whole thing is, if you're not sure, don't be afraid to speak to other retailers and just simply ask them, hey, what are you doing? Can you help me out here? Because in this time of COVID, we normally the road to success is a roadshow. We love being face to face. We love having a few beers with you afterwards, but we can't do it. So there's nothing stopping us now in this next couple of hours, just picking up the phone to any retailers, any of your people within the industry, and just check in with them. If they're based in Melbourne, like majority of us here, they're probably going through a rough time, isolation coming towards the end, probably talking to drawings on the wall, Wilson, like on Castaway. We're going mental down here. So see how people are doing, check in. There's always an opportunity to grow, because the best thing about e-commerce is it's fast moving and there's always partnerships to be had through networking. I do want to touch base again what I mentioned earlier. Magento Day, 17th of September, BigCommerce on the 6th of October, and Shopify Day on the 29th. We'd love to have you guys involved. We are also facilitating the National Retail Association Retailer Awards on the 15th of October. That's a great night celebrating some really great stories in retail, and we have some really amazing speakers lined up too, so keep an eye out in your inbox. Finally, thank you to Dot Digital for the series sponsor, and Unbxd for today, amazing partner for the session. I really thought the session was a really thorough discussion and a topic for me that was a bit daunting, but by the end of it, I feel like I've learned quite a lot, and I'm really excited to start talking to people how they're rolling it out. So to the four of you, you're amazing. To our audience, we love you. We'll see you all next session, and thank you again. Goodbye all.